Good evening from the Channel's newsroom here in London. Syrian government forces have started to reach the north of the country hours after the government agreed to help Kurdish forces facing Turkey. Syrian state media say government forces entered Ain Asa and Tel Tamr on Monday, 30 kilometres south of the Turkish border. The deal came after the US, the main ally, said it would completely withdraw its remaining troops. Turkey began an offensive in the region last week, aiming to push Kurdish forces from the border region. Areas under the control of the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces came under heavy bombardment over the weekend, with Turkey making gains in two key border towns. Dozens of civilians and fighters have been killed on both sides. Here, wounded Syrian residents were treated in the town of Tel Tamr, having been transported from Sarikani following shelling. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump said Kurdish-led forces may be setting captive Islamic State militants free to lure US troops back to the area. On Twitter, he wrote, "Kurds may be releasing some to get us involved, easily recaptured by Turkey or European nations from where they came, but they should move quickly." Thousands of people have demonstrated in Spain after the country's Supreme Court sentenced 9 Catalan separatist leaders to between 9 and 13 years in prison. Catalan independence supporters marched in Barcelona, filling the squares and blocking some streets over the decision. Monday's ruling comes after 4 months of hearings, with those jailed found guilty of sedition over their role in an independence referendum in 2017. 3 other defendants were found guilty of disobedience and fined, but will not serve prison sentences. The 12 politicians and activists had all denied the charges. The UK government has set out its policies on crime, health, the environment and Brexit in a Queen's speech that opposition parties have dismissed as an election manifesto.
And to carry the crown at the head of the procession.
The Queen makes the speech that is written by the government and arrived in the House of Peers with Prince Charles. The official opening of Parliament began with the traditional 3 knocks on the door of the House of Commons. MPs are then asked to join Her Majesty in the House of Peers, and there's then the rather awkward moment where the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition walk side by side. When it came to the speech, the Queen laid out the government's plans for tougher sentences for violent offenders and legal targets for cutting plastic pollution, as well as 26 bills set out at the Parliament's state opening. And of course, Brexit also played a large role in the speech.
My government intends to work towards a new partnership with the European Union based on free trade and friendly cooperation.
American Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders' campaign is back on track after the senator suffered a heart attack and subsequent surgery. Sanders cleared his previously frenetic campaign schedule after the attack 2 weeks ago, at a time when his candidacy had already been eclipsed by fellow Liberal Elizabeth Warren and frontrunner Joe Biden. At 78, Sanders is the oldest of the 19 Democrats seeking the party's nomination. His campaign is going ahead, though, with a $1.3 million TV advert in Iowa, the crucial early voting state that will kick off the Democratic primary contest in February. Sudan's ruling council and rebel leaders have started peace talks to end the country's multiple conflicts. The move is a key condition for the country's removal from the United States Sponsors of Terrorism list. The council, a transitional government, has made peacemaking with rebels fighting Khartoum one of its main priorities. Present during Monday's talks were Ethiopian Prime Minister and Nobel Peace Prize winner Abiy Ahmed, Sudan's General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and South Sudan's president, along with many others. The Sovereign Council took over the government in August when military and civilian parties and protest groups signed a 3-year power-sharing deal. Chinese President Xi Jinping's trip to India and Nepal has been hailed as a success by both countries. It was the Chinese president's second informal meeting with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The two countries agreed to designate 2020 as the China-India year, when they will hold 70 events to mark the 70th anniversary of the establishment of China-India diplomatic relations. And finally, British singer Harry Styles has released the new music video to his new single, Lights Up. The video shows a sweaty, shirtless Styles interspersed with cinematic shots of the singer on the back of a motorcycle and levitating above water. The single is the first on his yet-to-be-named second solo record. The 25-year-old rose to fame with the boy band One Direction, a group of 5 teenagers formed on the talent show The X Factor in 2010. And that's your international news around the world in 5.